Good morning, Mets fans, and welcome to a chilly Monday edition of Driving with Mr. Met. I am Mr. Met, and it is very cold outside. Went from being not so cold to quite cold in a very short period of time here in Pennsylvania. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about the fact that the Mets named their manager on Friday afternoon, officially confirming that Carlos Beltran will be the next manager of the New York Mets. I'm going to talk about that move on today's show. I have talked a lot about it over the last few weeks, but now that it's official, I guess I can say that's what I said was going to happen, because it is. But anyway, I'll talk about that today, and I'll also give a little bit of a preview as to what we can expect from me over the next couple of weeks. I have to say, of the managerial candidates that the Mets interviewed, I do think Carlos Beltran was the most intriguing, because he's so different than the type of former player who ends up being a manager. And I don't remember where it was I heard this, or where it was I read this, but I definitely read/heard the notion that, you know, the superstar players generally do not become managers in the majors, in Major League Baseball. Certainly not in the dugout, for sure. Derek Jeter may have broken that mold a little bit by becoming the general manager of the Marlins, but he's not in the dugout every day. And, it seems to be guys like, I don't want to say like failed major leaguers, but borderline not really major league talent ends up being the kind of guys that you see in the dugout, like Mickey Callaway, like Alex Cora. He was around the game a long time. Rocco Baldelli, Gabe Kapler. These were never superstar guys. All of these like first-time managers who baseball is going to today, and not just today, but really in the past as well. We haven't seen a whole lot of superstar, if any, superstar players take the reins as the manager on the field for a Major League Baseball team. Carlos Beltran is going to be the first to do that. And there was no better for me, no better, more succinct endorsement of Beltran's case to be manager than what I shared about 2 weeks or so ago from the Locked On Mets podcast. It was a podcast where the host, Ryan Finkelstein, did a sort of a run-through of the managerial candidates and made his case for Beltran. And honestly, it was after I heard that I sort of became okay with the idea that it wasn't going to be Girardi as the manager. And I've been saying, if it's not Girardi, it's going to be Beltran. I just felt like it was going to be Beltran from the start. I wanted Girardi, no question about it, but I'm not that upset about it being Carlos Beltran. And here's why. First of all, if you didn't do it the first time, go back and listen to the podcast that I just mentioned, because there's a scenario that Ryan Finkelstein brings up in his podcast that is really like heartwarming, and holy shit, this would be amazing. And I don't even want to spoil it. Go listen to it, because it's really good, and Ryan lays it out really well in his show. So that's number one. But number two, look at what all of baseball has been saying about Carlos Beltran over the last 2 weeks or so. Alex Cora comes right out and flat out says, dude, this guy is going to be amazing. Of course, we heard the same thing from Terry Francona about Mickey Callaway. Yes, I get that. But Beltran being in the dugout just 3 seasons ago, and being a key player in the 2017 Houston Astros run to the World Series, and being looked at that time as almost like a player-coach type figure in the locker room and in the dugout, and being the guy who picked up on Yu Darvish, I think it was Yu Darvish, who was tipping his pitches in the World Series. Was it Yu Darvish? I don't even remember. I read it yesterday. I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was you. Maybe it wasn't. It doesn't matter. All I know is that Beltran was the one that picked up on it and let the rest of the bench know. The way that he has evolved as a human as he's gotten older and he's matured, and he's gone from a guy who was very reluctant to be friendly with the media, to a guy who now is quite friendly with the media, and who's also done an incredible job of bridging the gap between a veteran, the veteran presence that he is, and the young players that he's forced to mentor and to be teammates with. And if you look at what a lot of the guys, again, on that Astros team said, like, Beltran was instrumental in getting that team to where it is today. And that, to me, looking at that team's success, looking at what the Astros have done, forgetting about the fact they lost the World Series just a week ago, they are a borderline dynasty. And if Carlos Beltran had anything to do with that, he's going to be the next manager of the Mets. So, I think they could have done a lot worse than Carlos Beltran. I've always been of the opinion that Beltran has gotten a very bad rap, that Mets fans have a very bad and poor opinion of him, and they really shouldn't, because he's the best outfielder the team has ever had, period. That is not debatable. There is no debating that. He put together seasons that were incredible offensive seasons. Top 10 offensive seasons, I think, 3 times Beltran did in his career with the Mets, 06, 07, 08. He was phenomenal. He also turned into Zach Wheeler, which we all know. And another little tidbit there, if the Mets are to bring Zach Wheeler back, and that's, questionable, but if they are to bring him back, Beltran would be the first manager in baseball history to manage the player for whom he was traded on the team from which he was traded. That's just kind of cool. That's like a cool little nugget stat, sort of like the no home teams ever lost 7 games in a 7-game series. Yes, that was my subtle hint that I want the Mets to bring back Zach Wheeler. But that's sort of where things are at right now with the Mets. And now that the manager's been named, the next step is to start putting together the coaching staff. And that's where I'm going to focus my attention in the coming days, between today and next Monday or next Tuesday, because next week is when MLB starts handing out the awards, from Manager of the Year through MVP, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I'll hopefully have some good stuff to talk about on Wednesday and Thursday in particular for the Rookie of the Year and Cy Young awards in the National League, going to Pete Alonso and Jacob deGrom. But until then, I think what I'm going to do this week is come back just one more time, unless the Mets make some announcements about who's going to be on the coaching staff. But I'll come back one more time and kind of give my thoughts on some of the names that have been thrown out there, and who might be fit and who might be returning from the current coaching staff. Kind of give some thoughts on that as this week unfolds. Again, if any news does break, I will try to get a video recorded and talk about it, but that remains to be seen if that's going to happen. So short one today, but I'm happy to say that the wait is over. The 346 names were narrowed down to one, and the Mets have their manager, and it's Carlos Beltran. And I think for all of you on Twitter who are pissed about the fact that Beltran is a first-time manager, and you have every right to be because of what happened with with Mickey Callaway, you also have to look at the fact that guys like Alex Cora, I mentioned Rocco Baldelli, these were first-time managers also, and they found tremendous success in their first seasons. So it's not just that Mickey Callaway was a first-time manager. It's that Mickey Callaway was a first-time manager who was learning a lot about the job as he did the job. And I think Carlos Beltran is in a different position, both personally, professionally, and he just has a different and more unique view and outlook on what he can do as the manager of this team. So that'll wrap it up for today. I'll be back later in the week. Thanks for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at Mr_Met. And as always, let's go Mets.